Hi everybody. I'm not sure if this is quite straight. I'm testing out a new tripod, so we'll see how this goes. Anyway, so welcome back to my channel, and this week I want to do the musical theatre tag with you. I have no idea who started this. It's been going on for a very long time, and at the moment the earliest form of it I can find was from a blog back in about 2007. So if anybody knows anything that goes back even further than that, you can let me know and I can credit them. But yeah, so this is the musical theatre tag. I've got 19 questions in front of me, so let's get started. So the first question is, what was the first musical you ever saw? And for me, it was a production of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I saw it when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and it was at the London Palladium in the West End, and Philip Schofield was playing Joseph and Lindsay Haley was the narrator. And that just set me up for a life of being obsessed with musicals. So yeah, Joseph was the first one ever. Okay, question number 2 is favourite musical growing up. Joseph. I was obsessed with it after seeing it when I was like 4 or 5 years old. And then, even though it wasn't on stage at this point, when I was little, I was obsessed with Mary Poppins, the movie. It was like the perfect babysitter. It was like 3 hours long. Still is 3 hours long. But he could just literally just prop me up in front of the TV watching it and I would not move. So my mum could actually go and do something around the house. She'd come back and I'd still be glued to the television watching Mary Poppins. So question number 3 is, what is the first musical you were in? Now, the first thing I ever did on stage was put a panto version of Cinderella when I was about 10 or 11. Then when I was in college, I did a musical version of Alice in Wonderland. So that was when I was about 18, I think. I think that was my first year of college. And I played Alice's sister and I had my own song and it was brilliant. And then when you think proper musicals, it would have to be Les Mis when I was 18 and I was a lovely lady. I was whore number 1. So I did the whole, come on dearie, while the fuss, you're no grander than the rest of us. I got to sing that bit and it was so cool. It was like one of my favourite things I've ever done on stage, and I've done a lot since then, but yeah. Question number 4 is the first musical you saw on Broadway or the West End. Well, the first thing I ever saw in the West End was Joseph, because it was at the London Palladium. And then the first thing I ever saw on Broadway was The Producers. Don't ask me what theatre I saw it in, I haven't a clue. But I did a trip to New York when I was 17, 18 with my parents and a friend, and we saw 3 shows in 3 days, and we saw The Producers, we saw Tarzan the musical, which was absolutely incredible, and we saw Legally Blonde. That was back when it was in previews, so before it officially opened, so I got to see Laura Bell Bundy as well, and I just have such incredible memories of that trip to New York. It was absolutely amazing, and I'm now going back to New York in about a week or so's time, so it's about more like 10 days, but I really can't wait. We're just going to walk up to the box office and see what we can get while we're out there, so I'm really excited. Alright, what's the next question? So the next question is, if you could be any female character in any musical, who would you be? The narrator in Joseph. I've always wanted to be the narrator ever since I saw it when I was little. And then also, I would love to be Elizabeth in Young Frankenstein, just because she gets to belt the word tits twice in one song. And then she also had the song Alone right at the end of the show where she's going, I'm so alone. And then she keeps talking about everybody else that's in the house, but she's still so alone. And I just think it's an incredible song. If you could be any male character in a musical, who would you be? Has to be Frederick Frankenstein in Young Frankenstein, mainly because of the brain. I love that song so much. It's absolutely brilliant. There are some incredible songs that Frankenstein sings in Young Frankenstein, so that's what it's going to have to be. Frankenstein, yeah. Favourite song to sing in the shower? It changes, but at the moment I sing a lot of Someone Gets Hurt from Mean Girls. That's a really good song to sing in the shower. And also Never Can Say Goodbye from Disaster. Jennifer Samar singing that song is just heaven. I mean, I've got a very musical theatre voice, so singing that song, I don't have the edge to sing that song, but I sing it anyway in the shower. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, favourite theatre actress. Faith Prince. I've been obsessed with her for years. Don't ask me the first thing I ever heard of her in, but I've never actually get to see her on stage, but I love her so much. A lot of people will actually know her from various TV appearances. She played Richard Kind's girlfriend on Spin City. She was in Drop Dead Diva. Oh, she's done so much. She's one of those faces that you'll probably see in a lot of TV shows and not quite figure out where she's from. But she was also in the 90s revival of, was it like 92 or 93 or something, of Guys and Dolls, and she won Best Actress at the Tony Awards for it. And her version of Adelaide's Lament is probably my favourite version of that song completely. Yes, Faith Prince. Definitely Faith Prince. And then favourite theatre actor, Christopher Seaver. Oh, I love Christopher Seaver's voice so much. A lot of people know him for being the original Farquaad in Shrek the musical. He's done so much. I think he's actually on Broadway at the moment in The Prom. I think it's The Prom that he's in at the moment. And I'm really hoping I get to see it when I go to New York, because if I could finally see him on stage, it would be absolutely brilliant. Because he did actually come to the UK to do Spamalot, but I never got to see him, which was really, really annoying. I did see Spamalot. I saw Spamalot when it was on tour, so I got to see Hayley Tamardon as the Lady of the Lake, and it's such a good musical. But yeah, so Christopher Seaver. A lot of people will actually know him, or at least my generation will know him, as the dad of the Olsen twins and Two of a Kind. That was my first introduction to him, and since then I've just been obsessed with him. As a kid, I was more concentrated on the story between the parents. I was more interested in the twins' dad and the babysitter. That was the storyline that I always focused on, rather than the Olsen twins whenever I watched Two of a Kind. So, was I the only one who liked that story more than the twins? But anyway, not that the Olsen twins weren't awesome, but on Two of a Kind, it was all about the will they or won't they romance. I can't believe it only ran for one season. I always seem to remember it as being a lot longer. Anyway, what's the next one? Favourite film adaptation of a musical. Now, I know that some people didn't like it, but for me, it was Into the Woods. I mean, yeah, they cut out one of my favourite songs, which was the the Reprise of Agony, which is probably one of the funniest songs in the whole show, because it's like they're you know, they've got their princesses and they're going, oh, but actually we found somebody else. One of them's like just asleep. And, you know, is scared of dwarves and all this sort of stuff. It's such a brilliant song, and I was gutted that they cut it out. They cut out some good songs, actually. But Meryl Streep as the witch was just incredible. It was such a good cast. And I saw it on my birthday, the year that it came out. Don't ask me which birthday it was. And it was like one of my favourite birthday gifts, seeing that at the movies. I haven't seen it on stage, but I'm obsessed with the soundtrack, and I thought the film was really good. So I think no matter what, I will always prefer a stage version of it, just because it's the way it is. I can just imagine it on stage, and even though the film was amazing, the image of it on stage in my head is better. But it was still a great movie. Alright, where are we now? Underrated musicals. So I think everybody agrees that Bonnie and Clyde didn't get everything it deserved. It should have won for a lot longer. And, you know, like Laura Osnes was just, like, she can't do no wrong. I also think that Vanities, the musical, I have that soundtrack. I think it was off Broadway, because I have the revival soundtrack from when Annalisa Vanderpoel, the one who played Chelsea on That's So Raven, was in it, and I can't believe she's not in more theatre, to be honest, because she's incredible. I think she was even in Beauty and the Beast at one point, and her voice is just amazing, and her version of Cute Boys with Short Haircuts, oh, it is such a gorgeous song, such a beautiful soundtrack, and I believe there was a version of it in London maybe a couple of years ago, but I think that's one that definitely needs to make it back into the West End, because it's It's just beautiful music, it's a beautiful story, it's one of those, yeah, vanities. Also Acorn Antiques the musical, I never got to see that one on stage, but I do have the DVD version where you can see Victoria Wood as sorry, my mind just went completely blank there. But yeah, so they've got the clips of Victoria Wood in it, as well as seeing the musical version with Julie Walters. And the fact that they managed to get like the majority of Victoria Wood's friends in the cast as well was just amazing, because I think Celia Imrie did actually win an award for her role as was she Babs? She wasn't Babs, was she? I'm getting everything mixed up. But yeah, Celia Imrie did win an award for her role in Acorn Antiques. And it also introduced me to Sally Ann Triplett, who I didn't really know of before that, and I fell in love with Sally Ann Triplett through Acorn Antiques. I also think It Should Have Been You really, really, really needs to come to the UK, because when it was on Broadway, I was there going, I need to see this show, because when I got the soundtrack, it was just like, oh, why can't I live in New York? Yeah, It Should Have Been You. The soundtrack was absolutely incredible. It had Sierra Boggess, who people mainly know for being, was she the original Ariel in Little Mermaid on Broadway? And she's also played Christine in Phantom. She just does everything. I think she was also in the School of Rock musical as well. She's just got an incredible voice, and she's so versatile. But yeah, It Should Have Been You soundtrack is incredible, and it needs to come to the UK no matter what. And to be honest, I kind of want to be in it. There's some really, really good songs in there. Sometimes the Frogs, like, nobody's ever heard of it. It's weird, because I was actually at a rehearsal last night, and I was saying there's a song in the Frogs that should be played just at the beginning of every single show ever. It's so funny. It's instructions and invocations to the audience, and it basically starts off like by saying, you know, like, please don't fart, there's very little air and this is art, and it just goes through this whole thing of things that an audience should and shouldn't do throughout the show. It's brilliant. But yeah, so The Frogs by Stephen Sondheim, it's just brilliant. And then also, this is one that was, again, I think it was off, I don't think it was on Broadway, I think it was off Broadway, but it's, Faith Prince was in it, and it's called A Catered Affair. The soundtrack is stunning. It is so beautiful. It's not like a rock anything, it's like easy listening kind of musical. It's very, I don't know how to describe it, it's so beautiful. And there's a song in it which is sung by Faith Prince, where she's basically describing the kind of wedding that she wants for her daughter, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. If you haven't heard of it, A Catered Affair, look it up. I'm sure it's on YouTube. Yeah, the soundtrack is just gorgeous. So that's one I definitely want to come, and this is still underrated musicals because I think a lot of people aren't really aware of them as much. To be honest though, I think Faith Prince was at least nominated for an award for A Catered Affair. I don't know if she won it though. But yeah. Next one is overrated. The next one is overrated musicals. Now, please don't hate me for saying this, especially Georgie Ashford, who I actually got the idea of doing this video from, because this was her favourite musical. So sorry, Georgie, but Phantom of the Opera. I'm sorry. When I saw it, it's not. I wouldn't exactly say it was overrated. When I saw it, it was good, but I just wouldn't put it up there as one of my favourites. I'm sorry. It doesn't take anything away from anybody else's enjoyment. It just wasn't one of mine. I'm sorry. Yeah. Even the movie, for me, wasn't that great. It was definitely better on stage than it was in the movie, because I think the whole thing with the chandelier coming onto the stage is incredible. It's just not one of my favourites. I'm sorry. It gets a lot of hype, and yeah, it's got a gorgeous soundtrack, but it didn't do it for me like some other shows have. So sorry, please don't hurt me, Phantom fans. Let's move on to the next one before I get murdered for saying that. What musical made you cry? To be honest, all musicals make me cry as soon as the overture starts. I get like tears away. I was thinking, oh, it's starting. But when I think of the musical that makes me really, really cry whenever I see it, Blood Brothers. Yeah, definitely Blood Brothers. And, you know, the ending, you know it's coming. Well, especially if you know what happens. But even though I know it's coming, the gunshot always makes me jump. Always. I've seen it like 4 or 5 times. I swear it was just like a tradition to take all the kids to see Blood Brothers every single year when I was at school. I swear I saw it at least 2 or 3 times when I was in high school. And it's beautiful, amazing soundtrack. I saw it in London, and there was a Nolan sister. I don't ask me which one. I know it was a Nolan sister was playing Mrs. Johnston. Yeah. And Anthony Costa from Blue was playing Mickey, and that was a brilliant version of it actually. And because I was with a theatre group type thing, we actually got to stay after the show and meet the cast, so that was pretty cool. I'm so sorry I can't remember which Nolan sister it was. My programme will be under my bed, and there's too much stuff under there for me at the moment for me to get it out. Alright, so any musical you saw and hated? Again, not hated, it just wasn't my favourite. Phantom. Sorry. We'll move on. What musical should be turned into a film? To be honest, I'm surprised that Blood Brothers hasn't been turned into a film yet, because it's one that definitely lends itself to being a film, I think. Yeah, that's the only one I can think of off the top of my head at the moment, but because to be honest, when I was trying to figure out if Blood Brothers actually ever had been a film, I just thought surely it must have been by now. But when I was looking it up, it was coming up with like horror movies and stuff. So it's just like, yeah, so the actual story of Blood Brothers actually hasn't been turned into a film yet, which is just ridiculous in my opinion. Anyway, what musicals do you want to see? Oh, there's so many. I want to see Book of Mormon, I want to see Into the Woods. I would love to see a version of Acorn Antiques on stage, not just the DVD. I'm gutted that the Band's Visit is closed before I go to New York, as well as Anastasia, because I'd love to see those on stage. Cats, Chicago. I am actually hoping to see Chicago when I go to New York, so fingers crossed. Mean Girls. If I could get to see Mean Girls when I'm in New York, I'd be so happy, because I'm so obsessed with that soundtrack. It is so good. Okay, so the next question is, can you think of any books or movies that could be turned into a musical? Pray Showman lends itself to being turned into like a proper stage musical. It would be so simple. Me and my mum have already designed the stage for it, to be honest, so if anybody wants to put it on stage, just come to me and my mum. We've figured it all out. And then also, because I'll admit, this movie soundtrack has been playing a bit more on my iPhone recently when I've been driving, and I was just like, how has this not been turned into a stage musical yet? I think there may have been an attempt to put it on stage before, but it never really got anywhere. But Pete's Dragon. If they can put King Kong on stage, they can do Pete's Dragon, can't they? Because, yeah, I love Pete's Dragon. It's probably one of my favourite Disney movies. It's probably Mary Poppins and then Pete's Dragon. I really did enjoy the remake. But it wasn't really a remake as such though, because it was just so different from the original. And I was glad that it was so different from the original, because trying to remake it exactly would have been just ridiculous. You can't recreate the magic you had with the original film, you know. And also the songs, I'd love to see some of those songs on stage, like Pastor McCroddy, whoever they could get to play the Doc. Chris Sieber as the Doc. Oh, that would be brilliant, wouldn't it? Oh god, I'm starting to think in my head of who would play who. Laura Rosnes could be in it. I've got so many ideas in my head. But obviously, as I said, you know, they've got King Kong. I remember seeing the original clips of King Kong in Australia and thought it looked amazing. And then to find out it was coming to New York as well. And it was just like, and then I was just like, if they can put King Kong on stage, if they can put a dragon on stage in Shrek the Musical, they can do it. They can do it for Pete's Dragon. And also, whenever I think of Pete's Dragon, I always think of the bit when they're doing, like, is it in I Swear I Saw a Dragon at the beginning? When they're doing the dance, like, on the tumblers and stuff. Imagine that on stage. Wouldn't that be awesome? It would be up there with, like, the dance, with the, I won't quote hopscotch, it's not hopscotch. Oh. You know, the bit in Legally Blonde where they're doing the jump rope, that's what I'm saying. It would be like the jump rope thing, but it would be on tumblers, and it would be awesome. Health and safety. They'll figure it out. But yeah, Pete's Dragon on stage, please do it. I think it would be so cool. Okay, and then we've got all-time favourite musical. On stage, it always has to be Joseph. It always comes back to Joseph for me, because I can go absolutely ages without listening to the soundtrack, and then it plays and I still remember every single word. It is so good. And then, as I said before, you know, Mary Poppins and Pete's Dragon would be my favourite film musicals, probably, well, at least Disney anyway. But when I think of, like, all-time favourite musical film, I'm usually torn between High Society and Singing in the Rain. And my dad once asked, like, if you were forced to choose between High Society and Singing in the Rain, what would you do? And I had a real think about it, because obviously Singing in the Rain is absolutely incredible. But I think High Society would trump Singing in the Rain, seriously. Just because of who's in it, because obviously in High Society you've got Grace Kelly, you've got Bing Crosby, you've got Frank Sinatra, you've got Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra singing together, you've got Louis Armstrong. It's just, High Society has to win that. I'm sorry. I'm sure there'll be other people there going, how dare you step on, like, Debbie Reynolds and Donald O'Connor and Gene Kelly. But yeah, between the two of them, it has to be High Society. I'll admit, one of my favourite songs in High Society is True Love. The song that they sing on the boat, it's Bing Crosby with a rare singing performance from Grace Kelly. It's so beautiful. Me and my dad love singing that song. That probably sounds really weird, but it's such a good song. And there isn't any more questions. So that's it. That's musical theatre tag done. So now you get to know all about my favourite musicals and everything. If anybody's got any additional questions they want to ask, I can always put them into another video. You can put them in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. But yes, I've been Debbie Drama. If you're watching this in bed, as normal, I can't speak anymore. I think Ursula's taken my voice. It's all good. I'm going slightly stir crazy now. Yeah. If you're watching this in bed, go to sleep. Let this be the last video you watch before you turn everything off. Enjoy your day, enjoy your night, evening, whatever time of day it is. Have a good one, and I will see you next week.